It's Beltane! It's May Day! It's the halfway point between spring equinox and summer solstice. It's a day of solidarity. It's the official kickoff date for the Missing Witches Reparations Fundraiser 2026.
You aren't being a proper woman, therefore you must be a witch. You must be a witch.
Witchcraft and the New Age have too often benefited from an extractive relationship with First Nations, the people, the culture, the magic, the land. So every year, Risa and I pay forward our community membership earnings for the month of May to the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal and invite you, our coven at large, to seek out your local Indigenous-led support organization, Native Women's Shelter, water, land protectors, and make an investment in our shared future. Make a donation of $10 or more, take a screenshot of your receipt, and email it to witchreparations@gmail.com. Every $10 gets you one entry in a draw with the chance to win one of more than 25 prizes. So $50 is 5 entries, 100 is 10, and so on. Plus, everyone who donates will automatically receive discount codes from House Witch in Salem, Madame Phoenix in Toronto, and North Atlantic Books. Go to missingwitches.com/reparations for all the details. But in the meantime, join me now for a conversation with shaman, author. Her latest is Hochon, Granddaughter Crow. Amour Lynx, fabulous artist and musician. Christopher Marmolejo, author of Red Tarot. And Patty Krawick, author of Becoming Kin and Bad Indians Book Club. So, thank you to the Missing Witches Coven, and thank you to my guests for joining me to kick off the 6th annual Missing Witches Reparations fundraiser. Quick note, this year we've gathered over $6,000 in prizes to celebrate the 6th year we went hard. $6,000 worth of prizes waiting to be won. For us, the month of May is an opportunity to direct resources toward a re-indigenized world and refocus our spotlight on the vast and prismatic ways that First Nations artists, authors, thinkers, and creators are midwifing new worlds into being. For me personally, it's become less about making reparations for the past, although that is still an important guidepost, but more about funding the future. What revolution do I want to be funding? And that is re-indigenizing the world. If you noticed me use an incredible turn of phrase, midwifing new worlds, that comes from Bad Indians Book Club by Patty Krawick. So I'm just going to read a quick paragraph here. There is something defiant about being a bad Indian, about leaning into these negative stereotypes, something adolescent and feral. If I'm going to get into trouble anyway, I might as well deserve it. This book is ultimately a book about refusal. Refusing political categories and borders and violence that come with them, refusing to assimilate by becoming the kind of person the state cannot assimilate. It's written by a bad Indian who doesn't just want to survive this current apocalypse. I want to join with others, bad Indians and more, to midwife new worlds into being. So, GDC, Patty, Chris, Lynx, thank you so much once again for joining me to kick off the MWRF 2026 and to midwife new worlds into being. So let's start with Patty. Can you unpack this metaphor a little bit for me of the midwife and the new world, both halves of the metaphor?
Well, could we talk in movements? movement building and movement spaces, we talk a lot about, emerging worlds and world building. We talk a lot about world building. And I think worlds, I I don't know that we're necessarily building worlds. I think worlds are coming, and we can choose to be part of their emergence or not. And midwives, I mean, I went to high school with I have a high school friend who became a midwife. I've known midwives, I've known doulas, I know death doulas. Um, Actually, death doula training is something that intrigues me, but I need new projects. Like I need a hole in the head. I do not need any new projects. But these are all people who just help guide the transition, right? From one world to another, from one way of existing. And so that's kind of what I was thinking was not so much world building as helping with that transition, with bringing something new. Because I mean, we could call it anything that we like, right? We turn on our phones or the TV, and we know that things are changing, right? We know that. It's not mysterious. It's not mystical. It's happening in front of us. But what do we want that new world to look like? How do we want to engage with and participate in that new world? How are we getting each other ready for whatever is coming so that we can meet it well? That's what I'm thinking of. That's what I was thinking about. And so not just bad Indians, but also others. Who else are we? This book is very much, and my thinking is very much about broad coalitions. Who are we working with? Who else is out there doing this work, right? Because we're never doing it alone. Um, and we're not inventing anything new, right? These movements have been around for decades, centuries, millennia, right? We want people to reach back into their stories, into their own stories. They don't need, our stories can guide the way, right? But everything you need is in your own stories. It's in your own history. You just got to pick the colonial garbage off of it. And for some of us, that's harder than others. It's for maybe further back. But that's what I was thinking. I was thinking because that's the work of a midwife, is to help the mom, help the family, help the baby, is to do that work. The midwife isn't the one who's building anything, but none of it happens without her. So that's what I was thinking.
And there's something in there too about the birth giver sort of making a deal with life and death, right? That when you're ushering in these new worlds and in humans and in animals, the process of giving birth is life-threatening, but it's
Mhm.
also the exact opposite. It's life-giving and life-threatening, and I think maybe we've lost a bit of sight of that revolutionary work is dangerous
And messy.
and
If
messy
you've
and
ever seen a birth, that's messy.
yeah, yeah. We can't have a clean revolution. We can't have a
No,
clean birth. Um,
no.
Links, I want to talk about your work. You are or have been um working with augmented reality. And I love this first of all, it's like, you work with technology. Um, and we've talked about this so much in the past that we don't really need to get into it now, but this meeting place of, ancient, tribal, primordial even versus like super contemporary future. But I want to know about your version of the world when you augment reality digitally. Like, what are you doing materially? What are you hoping? How are you hoping to augment the world in like outside the gallery? I know it's a big question. Hi, I love you. How are
Hi,
you?
I love you. I love you all. Hearing Patty's excerpt is endlessly inspiring and just like changed and shifted my mood from the day. So really grateful to be around all of you again. And this is a big question, I think. And as uh as you were all speaking, it brought into mind like language and reconnecting with language. And recently I don't know, I started working at a a friendship center doing like beginner language lessons of my traditional language as a beginner. And I kept telling the students, I'm not a teacher, I'm a mentor because I don't know my shit. But there's something about worldview and it being intrinsically tied to how you speak and how you situate or position yourself to land and space, um, the cosmos, as well as just like where you are in physical orientation, like your coordinates and place names. But most recently, in our last class, we were talking about how animals got their names. And there's a knowledge keeper in the East Coast, Ernest Johnson, who spoke um, to a group, and I found it online. And there's a word that they have for the squirrel, and it's a dudugwitch. And the root word or in there before you add like the suffix that makes it an animal is storyteller. And that has to do with like the way it puts its paws near its mouth. And so I think when you're creating new worlds, it's this combination of everything that you embody through how you exist in your body, like in your mind, your spirit, and as you have that worldview around being in interconnectedness around you. And the augmented reality piece was an embodied work. I don't want to say that word because it almost sounds a little pretentious, but I don't mean it in that way. I meant it in the way that uh, I was building a garden. I was building a native garden, and I was studying the leaves and the placements and what grows beside each other and what the soil needs and what bugs like these things. How are those interdependent relationships um, necessary? And that capitalism versus not capitalism view of looking at the world, where you isolate things into little compartments, just does not work with nature. You can't have an ecosystem in a self-contained, hostile, sterile environment. It has all of these things existing and living in that ecosystem. There's like soil is worm shit. Soil is full of bugs. Soil is full of everything that came before our ashes and everything else. But all of those pre-existing conditions are what creates the habitat for those things to thrive. So when I made the augmented reality, I was drawing pictures of the plants while trying to make them go and give them everything that they need and taking a compromised plot like in my garden that was just like, was really sad looking. It wasn't like rich earth. It was, not cared for a long time. And making sure that you're placing it in the right sunlight and all of these things. But then the augmented reality is to sort of subvert what we see right now. So when you have the phone app engaged, you see the buildings around you, you see concrete, you see tropical plants that maybe aren't from here. And then you have these native plants that are thriving up on top of it, imagining this future of what what it would look like when things are better.
So your augmented reality is a reimagining of a possible future.
That's what I hope. It's
Yeah.
sort of taking in all those prayers and the patience of not knowing what's going to happen when you go into the darkness and just put some trust in the soil in the form of a seed and not know what's going to happen at all. And just really allow it that space to say that you won't know right away what's going to happen. Sometimes these effects take years to even show any kind of influence or impact.
I love this, a seed as a container for trust, that your trust takes the form of the seed. And then as we go out into this world, we take our hopes and we put them in worm shit. And then we pray and tend and nurture and tend. Thank you, Lynx. Chris, I know you are midwifing new worlds. I know you are crossing thresholds. Tell me about the thresholds that you're crossing and the world that you're birthing. Tell me about your reality, augmented or
Mm.
otherwise.
My gosh, I love this connection that we're having around midwifing, death dueling, and then gardening. You know, in this way, gardening a gardener is a futurist, of course, this is often said, right? Oh my goodness. And I certainly really relate to that. I I like to say like I think about my work. I try to think about my work like Beyonce, meaning like that there is there's different scales. Like it's I feel what is that film? Mad Max Fury Road, and they were saving like the crones had all of the seeds for the future. You know that like in this that they were like revolutionarily like fighting to go and turn the desert wasteland back into the garden, back into this femme led, cultivated, curated space. And I feel like that crone. you know, there's a sense of being also visionary in a way of receiving, that I just have to keep up with and be patient because the things that I'm trying to birth and realize and be a vessel for have such different scopes, and timelines for maturation and for creation. And I mean, publishing and writing is certainly an elephant pregnancy. It's certainly like a slow thing, you know what I mean? As is healing, as is literally like, flesh and tendons coming together, as is the recovery of like I'm living by land that like houses have burned down in, you know what I mean? Like forest fires happen in California, of course, often. And so seeing just the scale of like how the land will repair itself after immense disaster, um, and in trying to always uh, wrestle with, reckon with all of the ways to read violence, that chorus like birth is violent as hell. There birth is so violent, as is so many things. And so I think that um, that's an important question that I'm always putting my work against, and like the distinction between violence and suffering, of like this like sadistic, sociopathic, of course, violence that so many people are suffering within is also a difference in the than the violence and the growing. I remember when I was a kid, I would just like I could feel my bones growing. Like the growing pains were so terrible. Like they hurt so bad. Like they're like, but that's good. That's not a bad that was not bad. That was not suffering. And so I think if anything, I'm just trying to maintain a confident patience in the worlds that I'm envisioning and letting that vision be flexible and shifting to be like a spinal cord that is supportive and integral and yet flexible, and has a rich range of motion that can adapt to the many futures that we are generating as we all take the courage to lay hands on the future and shape it ourselves.
I have to read this quote. You know this. Um, that there's a quote from your book, Red Tarot, that I used as a jumping off point as a theme for a coven meeting that we
Mm.
had recently. You must follow the fool if you want a world where dreams dance out loud. I just wanted to read this, but this is what I wanted to say. Also, again, from like the same paragraph, Red Tarot. Failure and foolishness are the price of taking any meaningful step toward fulfillment. I'm going to read it again because I feel like a lot of people are missing this messy part of birth, right? Failure and foolishness are the price of taking any meaningful step toward fulfillment. Can you just talk to me about why failure and foolishness are so integral just for a minute?
I mean, failure and foolishness, aka faggotry, you know what I mean, are the ways forward or sideways or all of the ways. And I love an alliteration, as you can tell by that sentence. And so there's something there as well. Just think that failure is so much more interesting than, like, I always tell my clients and my students, like, if you're failing at Empire, that's a good thing. You know, all of the reasons by which I was um harassed and like ostracized from my social groups growing up, from my peers, were such blessings. And it was because I was just like this amazing queer, psychic, beautiful being that just was like, it was just beaming, yeah, and it was like they could not handle it because all of these disciplinarian measures that tell you what success is, that discipline your body into the being domesticated, into being, as you were saying, Links, like in these violent, small, self-contained, isolated, um, like anomic containers that lead to your own self-destruction because you're not part of a larger ecosystem where, like, failure is when you go beyond. The failure is a space of exploration. It's a space of discovery. It's a space of experimentation. That also holds you accountable to not quitting. Like, failure is an excuse to stopping. And it's like also just like get your ego out of the way and have fun and dance and sing off key, but like the music's gonna flow through you. Like, move your hips, they'll loosen up the more that you get over yourself. So I think so often that is such the case. And as a carney, as I like to say, as a tarot reader, I think there's something so rebellious and insurgent that I feel in like push failing, essentially like pursuing the path of failure in being a tarot reader. And I love all my tarot readers, of course.
Yeah, and it relates so much to what Patty wrote about, being bad, not living up to the expectations that are violent. Um, GDC, if I had to choose one word that I think encapsulates your message, it is authenticity. This is
Oh,
your personal way of being in the world, but also the message that you repeat over and over and over again. And I think that that's related to this too. To be authentic is to know that if you quote unquote make a fool of yourself or you fail, that it has no bearing on your worth as a person. And it's more authentic to fail than to not try or pretend that you haven't. I also know that you are in the process of giving birth, like right now. Your new book, um, Hoshon,
Sean.
Hoshon, is coming out like, I think like, it's May 1st today. So it's coming out like 3 or 4 days from now. Also, listeners, when you make your reparation and join the Missing Witches Reparations fundraiser, you will receive a discount code for 20% off of Granddaughter Crow's new book when you order it from North Atlantic Books. There's also a prize pack from North Atlantic. Shout out, Red Tarot is also on North Atlantic Books. We are housemates. Okay, that introduction was far too long. Tell me everything, GDC.
Uh, Everything would be squares to circles. Squares to circles, guys, squares to circles. Um, so thank you so much for saying all of that and for announcing my new baby, Hauchon. It is, yeah, an elephant birth, like Christopher said, it was an elephant birth. The reason why I'm saying squares to circles is because when I was listening to Patty and this ushering in a new world, midwifing a new world, I was just like, new world. I need another like new world. What does that mean? And ultimately it means manifest here in the third dimension, but it starts with consciousness, right? It's to me, it starts with a consciousness shift. It starts with a consciousness shift. And then we moved over to links. And links is like, yes, your conscious, this is how I understood. Your consciousness is displayed and or informed by the words that you were working with and using certain language and inclusivity and these types of things and that you can imagine a new world through a conscious shift, which is an app which I gotta check out. I don't know what you're talking about, but that sounded really tasty. So then I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And literally kind of like this think outside the box, right? Square to circle, something that can be encompassed in a garden type situation, something that is being done here with this panel. You know, and it's so cool to me because we live in a world of squares and we need to think in circles. And then of course we get to beautiful Christopher Marmolejo. You know I love you. And this visionary and this you guys get to be rebels if you so choose. Like, choose like, what is your consciousness going to do? And do not be afraid. Because let me tell you something, you ain't doing anything authentic unless somebody doesn't like it. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that is like the more that I grow and the more what maybe Amy said, like courage or whatever that is grows, the more vulnerable I am. The more the conditioning of the square on how to think, you need to think this way, it hits me and I run up against squares, right? And I need to think circular. I need to be like, oh, is my presence so big that it offends you? Do I offend you? You know, it's that it is the creativity, the artist call. And I reference Hegel, who talked about three different types of spirit. And one is, you know, subjective spirit, self to self, you know, seen in like counseling and psychology and self to self, study of self. Then there's the objective spirit, which is self to other. You know, so you're looking at the economy, sociology, and then you get to what Hegel says is absolute spirit. Absolute spirit is defined as they say in, and as Hegel says in religion, which I just say spirituality because limited language, right? Links, limited language that he had back then. But it's like, and creators, art, art brings absolute spirit. Art doesn't, the natural world does not draw lines in squares. It is always it's not a straight line, it's always a movement. And to bring it back home is to say, we're not sitting in a square and there is no head to this table. We are all equal, all my relations. We bring different aspects of this beautiful diamond called be a little be a little authentic. Maybe the name of my next book. Hey guys, let's be a little authentic. And what that means is exactly what everybody said. It's a midwifery. It is a changing in your thinking, the changing in the way that maybe your creator within you can imagine the visionary. And then just kind of to bring it home to me, squares, don't think in squares, people, think in circles. Um, I know that sounds funny, but if you know, you know. So being authentic is giving honor to that which created you. It's giving respect to the people around you because then they don't have to guess. And if they like your brand, they like your brand. And if they don't, that's okay. That's okay. It's no weird. It's like be your authenticity because it gives gratitude to that which created you.
Can you talk to me a little bit about this word that jumped out from your subtitle of your book, self-reclamation?
Yes. What do you want to know? This is scary. We just talked about how violent birth can be. And such self-reclamation can feel very violent as well because, one could imagine, oh, reclaiming self. Oh, I'm liberated. Oh, I wasn't raised with that type of privilege. I wasn't raised thinking that, oh, well, all I have to do is put on a nice suit and tie and walk into, I was raised in a different way. I was raised as quote unquote other, Gen X guys, born 1970. And then the other now category is growing, and now the others are coming together and we are the others. And when you find yourself in this authentic self-reclamation, there will be what I call the watchers at the threshold, or I learned that from some sort of ceremonial magic, and they may call it something else. I'm not trying to, quote out of text, but it is this, you have the concept of we each have a certain capacity, and as we grow and develop or whatever, that capacity continues to grow, and it's like a circle around us. And when we touch the silhouette of our old like capacity, you meet what I call the guardians there. And the guardians will tell you every single thing that you have heard and were programmed, that you are other, you are not enough, you are not indigenous enough, you are not pretty enough, you are not, and all of those voices you will have to talk to and like reclaim self in the face of the greatest, hater, which is actually the programs for me. I have to stand up to my internal voice that I was programmed to go, yeah, and go beyond that. So self-reclamation is, it's war, it's nasty, and it's very, very different for people who are artists, for people who have been quote unquote others, but it's our turn. So yeah.
This is so thrilling, this notion of the others coming together. You know, we talk about this in our witchcraft circles too, that there are more of us than there are of them. We just have to figure out how to work together. And what a perfect segue. Um, let's hear a little bit more about this year's fundraiser and fundraiser prizes. A very quick reminder, we have changed email addresses to make our lives easier. The new email address is witchreparations@gmail.com. Here's some more details. Make a donation of $10 or more. Take a screenshot of your receipt and email it to witchreparations@gmail.com. Every $10 gets you one entry in a draw with the chance to win one of more than 25 prizes. So $50 is 5 entries, 100 is 10, and so on. Plus, everyone who donates will automatically receive discount codes from House Witch in Salem, Madame Phoenix in Toronto, and North Atlantic Books. Go to missingwitches.com/reparations. So, everybody, I'm going to say a couple words, and we'll start with Patty. I want to know what you say in response to these two words. Um, because I've been hearing them a lot lately in many different circles. Survival mode. What comes to
Oh,
mind for you when I say the words survival mode?
anxiety. Yeah. That's what comes to mind. Anxiety.
Please expand.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know if we were just popcorning words or what. Yeah, yeah. Just because survival mode, and that's to me, that's where I've been for the last 6 months, is in survival mode, and I've been feeling a ton of anxiety. And it's because when you're in survival mode, you're constantly reacting, you're constantly catching up, right? Like you don't have a minute. And that's what I always say is like I don't have a minute to think or to write. But when I do have a minute, I spend it numbing, right? Watching TV, doom scrolling, playing games on my phone. I don't spend it doing the very things that I say I want to do, that I need to do. Um, because I'm just trying to keep my head above water. And you feel like you don't have any control when you're in survival mode, right? So you're constant, and you're not surviving either, right? Like you're actually not. Like so you're a ball of anxiety, you're just trying to catch up, but then the body slows you down, something happens. And you know what? I rediscovered fiction. Okay, I don't have the headspace right now for okay, I'm struggling through this book by Chanda and I do love it. But it's hard work to read. So I'm like plowing through fiction. Every couple of days I'm finishing, and that's getting me out of that anxious space. And Christopher, I just bought your book. I just read tarot. I just like, what is that?
Oh,
That sounds
thank you.
intriguing. And ordered. My local bookstore adores me.
I
Um,
I'm
love
honored.
technology that you can be in
yeah, like
tune
as you
with
were
while
talking, I'm like,
ordering a
that sounds
book.
like such a great book. I need to buy that.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, survival mode it actually makes me feel anxious because I have been there for the last, I think, 6 months, and I am crawling out of it.
How? Through fiction and
I've just got fiction. My puppy is calming down, so that
mm,
actually gives me half a minute. Um, the weather has changed, and the puppy forces me to go outside
yes.
at 6:30 in the morning. So I'm drinking my coffee wrapped in my puffy coat, sitting outside drinking coffee, because I have this puppy who like loves to be outside, and actually, needs to be outside at 6:30 in the morning after a long night in his crate. Um, yeah, and redis friends, spending time with friends and talking. This conversation, I've been looking forward to it so much, and each of you said things that helped. Right? Like Link's talking about language made me think of so the Ojibwe word for traditional stories is atasokan, and it contains tis, which refers to the umbilical cord. So our stories, our atasokan, our traditional stories connect umbilically, child to mother to like all the way back to our original mother, right? So even the name for our stories contains that Atasokan. And so as Lynx was talking about language, I was like, yes, Atasokan, our language contains so much about how to live well in this world and so much about how to experience because they're process based languages, not noun based language. They're process, and that's just such a different way of thinking about the world. Christopher is talking about tarot and the what did you write down? Pursuing the path of failure. I loved that. Oh my God, that's so liberating when I'm thinking about survival mode. It's okay. It's okay to screw up. Some of the most beautiful things that have happened to me have happened as a result of mistakes that I've made. And even the ones that weren't beautiful, the mistakes that were terrible and tragic, and I wish I could undo them, I have learned something as a result. I have done something with those things. And survival mode calls us to perfection, which is not helpful. And so Christopher, when you say, when you say, and I wrote that down too, proving the path of failure, pursuing the path of failure and the distinction between violence and suffering. I loved that too. And then the authentic self. So all of these things are helping me with the anxiety of survival mode, which is the random phrase that you gave me. And all of y'all have given me something because I am kind of trying to come out of this stage that I've been thrust into. And you guys have all given me things to hold on to. And so, yes, I appreciate you so much.
A little water and sunlight to help ease your bloom out of the worm
Yeah.
shit. And I love
Right.
I love that you brought up fiction because again it like ties into Lynx's work of reimagining the world. Like if we can't deal with the facts right now, then let's make something up. Let's imagine a world that is.
Let's
Yeah.
imagine what could be, and then that will give us actually the tools and the notion that maybe this actually could be.
Yes.
Maybe we actually could get here, or maybe this is how we work through, something that we need to work through. Yeah, I always underestimate fiction, and a lot of the books back here now are like there's increasing amounts of fiction back there.
Yeah. Yeah. Links, can you talk to our listeners about survival mode? Again, Patty, I love that you reminded us that survival mode isn't survival. It's like it's a process of wearing us down to dust so we can survive as dust. Or, Links, what's the alternative?
This conversation's healing me too. Realizing there's so much resonance between what we're all experiencing, even if we hadn't been in touch for some time. The words that came to my mind, because you're like, pick two words. I was like, fight or flight. And on the physiological level, what happens in that, and I'll get the terminology wrong because I never did neuroscience stuff. I just read lots of books and, you know, get the gist and, maybe remember the terminology, but it's certain parts of your body goes offline when you're in fight or flight, when you're in survival mode and the blood stops going to your head and it goes to your limbs because it's preparing you to run away. It's preparing you to punch and kick and protect yourself. It's protecting you in all of these really brilliant ways. And it's almost like your brain is a computer that has like backup storage or like a backup plan for what you're going to do in an emergency, even if it seems really counterintuitive. But the things that do go offline are things like rest and digest. You'll have digestive upset. These things are not a priority when you're trying to stay safe. And I think I really relate to what you're saying about being in survival mode the last 6 months. And what that mode looked like for me was in some ways hiding and retreating in the sense that um, how we come to heal ourselves is coming together in community. But when you fail, or when you, like that beautiful quote that Christopher shared earlier, um, when you're that fool or you feel foolish, like, oh, I wish I had done this, or maybe I wish this didn't happen, or if I only made this different decision, um, it personally doesn't make me feel proud. It makes me feel shy to reach out to my relationships or like really be in community because I'm feeling lack. I'm feeling like I'm not built up and I need things and I don't want people to see me that way. And so thinking about how do you sustain yourself in those moments and pretending and faking it till you make it makes me think of manifestation and how if you're doing spell work, you end up focusing on the things that you're looking to cultivate, and creator or whatever you want to call it only hears the details and it doesn't really care about I don't want that or I do want that. So when you focus on your lack, it actually like vibrates that back to you or like perpetuates it in a way. So I think there's really major survival strategy in escapism or fantasy, because that allows you to envision a certain type of world to manifest in your future, to extend and push past the discomfort of having fallen down and going, I might have broken my leg, but if I'm gonna survive, I'm gonna have to drag this guy behind me and use the one that works to really push myself out of this thing until I'm resourced enough to help myself or get that interdependence back from doing what we should be doing, like being back in community or having that visionary sense of that native garden blooming with wildflowers. And I guess this time of year, people are doing controlled burns and wildfires. That was a Freudian slip, but this destruction's important as well.
And we're the year of the fire horse right now, right? So I like to think of us as being a herd. In our circles, we've talked about this a lot, that we went from the year of the snake, which is sort of like an individual, to the wild horse, which is the herd. The others are coming together, to put it in GDC's way of thinking. But also, thank you for this reminder, Links, that like when we feel this fight or flight, this survival mode, this lack, um, that it often makes us not reach out because there's a shame under stage capitalism that is like associated with this lack. When that is the opposite of what we should be doing. I'm putting my phone number in the chat. I hope to see you writing it down. And I promise, you made me think of, Risa has been going through cancer treatment for 2 years, and we had a very, vulnerable and honest conversation where she was telling me like, and I'm paraphrasing, but I just feel like I'm just a fucking drag to be around. And I said, counterpoint. What if you are so fucking amazing and fantastic that even at your worst, you're still valuable? You're still a joy, that we still want to be around you, even at your worst. So I say unto you, Links, even at your worst, I put my phone number in the chat. Even at your worst, please call me. Christopher, I know you have something to say about survival mode. I know you do. I know you do.
I just text you right now also, so just saying. I certainly do. It's like this is such a rich, like it's, this is such a rich point.
I'm
loving
sorry.
that.
I'm sorry. I have to say, I did just get a text from Chris, and I'm fucking delighted. Thank you. I love technology.
Me too. Oh my goodness, I'm loving everything that y'all are saying. I mean, you know me, I am very wordy, and so I like there is things going, and then and more things are coming in terms of like my response to survival mode. But I think, well, first was trauma in the soul, which I think is what we're obviously naming, and then I think about cockroaches. I think about also predation, to be in survival, like, and hearing this from Links, the experience, like naming the experience of shame when you're gripping, when you're hanging on to the edge of the ledge, is symptomatic of being assaulted. That is a mode of being victimized, right? Of being abused, is that it's like there's this sense of being made passive, of being put into this state where it's like, oh, I lost my job. No, how you didn't know where it went? Like, you can't find it. You were there yesterday. What do you mean you lost it? No, someone fired you. Who fired you? You know what I mean? Like, who was doing the layoffs? Like, this sense where the language that we're using obscures the abuse that gets perpetuated, and then we internalize it as a justification for why we are struggling. That we interpret our failure, we interpret our struggle as symptomatic of our inherent unworthiness by virtue of being femme, indigenous, queer, fag, and on, right? And so for me, survival mode is also like, well, who are we prey to? Who is, like, where are the predators? And obviously that's an ongoing and relevant conversation in this world. Um, so that is, and then of course, like the interruption of trauma and how is your like the way that these living, and I mean, I will say I am a bastard failure child that like my, you know, I grew up in survival mode. My parents had me at 16. You know, like I am, that's just the context of my birth. And I think like if anything, you know, there is an alchemization and there is like so much um just like I should not be where I'm at. You know, I should not have done or achieved the things that I have achieved. Like my family should not be in the spaces that it's at, and also for the first time I don't exactly feel like I'm in survival mode in this past couple years, which has been great. I think that I'm trying to thrive, but I also have people that I'm deeply in community with who are in survival mode, you know, in sitting with them, and like of course the larger collective world where there are certain things of just dealing with chronic fatigue and being porous, you know, in dealing with the world that is surviving, um, is a charge to truly be a spiritual warrior and to recognize that there are, I'm sorry to keep just harping on this, but like that there are predators out there, that there are people actively like it's not just like, oh, I made a wrong step, or you know, I made a typo or something, you know what I mean, or something like that. It's like, oh, I was tricked in and I was deceived, and then I was taken advantage of, I was exploited, and these things were systematically set up for me to be in this position. So for me, that's always helpful for, as you were saying, like GDC, like also like this like expunging these scripts and these modes internalized, you know what I mean? It's to be able to kind of like name who the violators are, to name where the violence, like evil violence honestly is, um because I'm just like a Taurus rising who wants to moo and eat good food and like nap in the sunlight all day and like listen to Mariah sing, you know? And like people are fucking with that. And so like what the hell? Let's call them out.
Yeah, I mean, we are a group of, you know, sweet, sensitive, beautiful, artistic, creative, lovely, loving people. And so oftentimes it's like not surprising, but shocking to me that there are people who want me to fail. That there are people in the world who are actively working against other people instead of doing their own thing. They're putting their energy into tearing other people down. And for us in this room and hopefully in this coven, that's such a wild idea. Like, why? But it's very, very, very fucking real. GDC, how real is survival mode?
It's too normalized. When you said I'm gonna go ahead and round rob and you get to choose two words, right? I was totally with Lakes. I was like, okay. And I was like, okay. And I said too normalized. No, no, I'm just playing with you, Amy. You know, and then my mind, of course, went straight to amygdala. When your amygdala, which is that part of your brain that is the eldest part, and it is sense of survival. It is not just fight, flight, or freeze. There is also fawning and to call out your predator and not excuse them. So I'm like all, you know, activated because I'm like, you know, a lot of times, just like what you said, Amy, we are like foreign to that there is a predator, and we are like part of this whole group that's like, oh, it must be my responsibility, even if it's not. Let me see how I can grow. We take responsibility for ourselves, and they keep preying on it. And I hate to be the person. Well, I'm not the person. I'm actually, you know, just saying it. Maybe for me, you know, is there are literally predators out there. And if we are so conditioned to take responsibility for, maybe we need to understand, and maybe I should have while I was doing my shadow work and all of that kind of stuff. If the sensitives, if the spiritual people that have been doing that sit back and feel like, oh, it wasn't all in my head. That person actually is an asshole. Well, there we go. I don't have to fawn anymore. I don't have to pretend that they don't exist or that they might get better because I am horrified. So,
Yeah.
amygdala, and too normalized, because to the extent, people, that there is historical trauma, there is DNA trauma, there's a lot more work going on in the psychological community to be, or maybe it's always been there and I'm finally doing my own studying about it. But this word fawning, that we just, oh, it's okay. And then this other thing of DNA trauma. And I really want to, just say there is a book called My Grandmother's Hands, and it's Risma. I can't remember what the last name, Minikin. Thank you, Spirit or whatever. And that will talk to you about the survival mode that maybe you don't understand that you're in because you quantify your life and they told you what it is. Maybe something is going on in your body that, and other people's bodies are traumatizing you. And so if it's too normalized, I have to recognize that in myself, how many times I am fawning or giving excuses to, well, maybe I didn't explain that right. Maybe that person just is traumatized, all of that
How
kind of
is
stuff.
this my fault? How is
Yeah.
their poor treatment of me my fault? Yeah.
Yes, preach, and that's the whole thing. And that's why that, I hate to say it, that's why that dynamic works, is because one person will take full responsibility and the other one will take none. And so until the person with complete, they kept taking responsibility, when they start going, wait, when is it my turn? And then the taker is like, you changed. You are a bad person. And it's like, ugh. But anyway, when we are moving out of that state, which I am saying could have been through bloodline, when we are moving out of the state, for me, it's a more important question, is how do we normalize not being in survival?
Yeah. And for so many, like, what would that even look like? What possibilities would arise from that? It's a future that we can imagine together, for sure. I want to go around the circle one more time. Firstly, let me say I have my list here. I know last year, Chris, you suggested donating to the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women. Is there anything you want to add? Another organization that you're very into at this time that we can add to our list of suggested receivers?
I'm like yes, all of them. All of them that y'all find, and but missing and murdered indigenous people in San Diego is like a local one. So that is just always one near and dear to my heart. Any sort of branch locally wherever you may find yourself that is focused on, like, it was previously MMIW, right, for like the censure on women, but it has shifted to people. And so yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, I think it obviously builds on this as well. Like, how are you surviving when people are being disappeared, right? Again, being preyed upon and just like disappeared. And so one of the indicators is like the red hand print over the mouth, over the face, right? And so for the listeners, that if, like, if you see that image, that's a good like sign to go and support that work.
And how can our listeners support you?
Oh my
Selfishly,
goodness.
just you.
Just I well I it's like
Tell me about
it's
Thresholds. Thresholds is starting soon, right?
yes, Thresholds is starting soon. Thank you, which is a foundational tarot course that pairs along with my book, Red Tarot, A Decolonial Guide to Divinatory Literacy. And so it's very comprehensive, and it is just my cast iron skillet, where we talk about the ethics of being a diviner. It is like you'll learn tarot, but I also gear that course to having a client practice and like trying to read for others, and that's what I think the cards want to be between people, you know, and even if you're not like a professional, but reading for your friends, reading for your family, they are your clients, reading for whomstever. And of course, just the newsletter. Just join me on the newsletter and you'll hear about all my offerings, which is the redread.beehive.com.
.beehive.com. And of course,
Yes.
everybody, all these links, as always, in the
Thank
show
you.
notes. Links, LINKS. Now, links, LYNX. Last year, you hyped the Sierra Club protecting lakes from a devastating oil spill and support Anishinaabe nations. Um, I imagine that that still works, but is there anything new? Anybody else you want to spotlight?
There's really so many. I think redistributing should just continue and continue. But what comes to mind is We Matter campaign.
Mhm.
They're a indigenous led organization in Turtle Island that focuses on youth mental wellness through role model ambassadors. So having people below the age of 30 representing um, resilience through just existing, not really needing to, you know, be more than just deserving, but actually seeing yourself represented in media around you, see yourself reflected in others instead of isolated is one of those key ways to challenge feelings of mental illness, suicide, and that's the reality of what the world is trying to do to us. It's trying to, make us not here. There are predators, as has been mentioned. So that's what was on my mind.
Yeah. And is there any way, I feel like you're not selling anything right now, which is fine and great, but is there any way that our listeners can support you personally? I know you just made a big move, so maybe you need some support for that.
Yeah, I keep doing I keep giving my energy, but I'm thinking of doing prints. I've been making and making and making, but not creating products because sometimes those stories feel so sacred. But I have I have some prints I'm gonna make, so I feel really hopeful that they'll look nice when they exist in the physical instead of the digital.
Yes, I have an empty spot on my witch art wall that I was like, I'm not gonna fill this spot because soon something will come and now I know I can't wait to buy a print of your work. Links. Patty, so of course payyourrent.ca. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about payyourrent.ca?
Yeah, so that's a foundation that I started a few years ago with a couple of friends, and we basically encourage settlers to pay their rent, and they donate money to us, and then we donate it to Indigenous people. We support people's material needs, like literally paying their rent, helping them get housed, stay housed, cell phone bills, get stuff out of storage, like a lot of the falling through the cracks kind of stuff that other organizations don't have the mandate for. We'll say, sure, we'll pay for that. We'll help that. If we have the money, we'll give it away. But we also support organizers who are building communities, because if you also have to work against the reasons for why people need that money, right? So we support organizers as well as meeting people's material needs. Yeah, so that's payyourrent.ca. And then if people want to support me, they can subscribe to my blog, thousandworlds.ca, which is part of that midwifing new worlds. And right now I'm working. And the reason, Christopher, that I immediately glommed onto your book and ordered that is I try to create. I'm really not very good at creating content specific for paid subscribers. I'm working through Anishinaabe stories right now. That's kind of what I'm putting out I try every week or so. Working through these stories that were actually documented in 1912, which is really cool because they haven't evolved. They've been like trapped in amber. So they're really kind of cool. But for paid subscribers, we're now doing tarot time, where let's just pull some cards. Let's see what, and I mean, almost more like, I guess a writing prompt with some influence from spirit, you know? So yeah, so people could also ask me questions, and then like pick the deck that I'm using that they want me to use. And then it would be, like I said, a writing prompt. It's not a reading, because a reading is a conversation between me and that person, what they see in the cards, what I see, and that's not what would be happening in the paid content. So it's more of a writing prompt. You ask a question, let's see what story the cards tell, and then take what you need from that. So yeah, so that was why, yay, more tarot resources.
You are going to love Red Tarot. It's
Oh,
exactly that. Before we officially started rolling this tape, listeners, we were talking about encountering very dense material and academic material that's like wonderful and you're amazed, but you're kind of like, oh, this is a slog. Christopher somehow has taken everything that you need to know from the academy and put it through this like beautiful kaleidoscopic prismatic lens that makes it so legible and so what's the word that I'm looking for? Like I can eat it. I can eat
nice.
it, and I don't have to chew it and chew it and chew it. I can just eat it and enjoy it and I feel full and like
I love you so much. Thank you
Oh,
so
thank
much.
you.
I'm
I
so
also
honored.
I actually also I know Lane Smith, I think, has talked with you before, right? Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
I have their
Yeah.
book 78 Acts of Liberation,
Yeah.
which is another tarot book that I really enjoy their take on it.
Yes. And
Oh,
of course, I am holding in my hand Bad Indians Book Club and Becoming Kin. So that's another way that listeners, you can support Patty
That's
and
right.
Patty's work.
From your favorite
Fantastic books.
independent bookstore.
Yes.
Get them from your favorite independent bookstore. Jeff Bezos doesn't need to go to the moon and back.
No. Or go to the moon and don't come back.
Yeah, don't come back. Just go to Mars. Go to Mars.
This,
Go.
to Mars.
you
Yeah,
know,
go to Mars.
Judy Grahn told me when we spoke, she was like, this is an Earth-centered movement. Go to Mars. Fuck off to Mars. We don't
Just
need you.
go.
We
Just
don't want
go.
you. Go. GDC, I know every year when I ask you this question, you give me the answer that I love, which is you tell people go into your local community. Don't listen to what GDC says. Go and find it for yourself. Go and see for yourself. And that's so much a part of what the Missing Witches Reparations fundraiser is about. Of course, we talk a lot about the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal, and that's where our resources go. But we want you to look at the map, nativelands.ca, and you can find out what First Nations were on the land that you're standing on before you stood here. Reach out to your community, find out the amazing work. We've heard so many great stories about people reaching out to their local community and finding something that they didn't know existed that was super resonant with what they were doing in their own lives, and then just this like expansion. That's what we're looking for. So we know GDC says go out into your community, use your senses, taste the air and touch and see what is going on. So I'm going to give you this moment to plug the newest book. Please. Plug,
Oh,
plug. It's wonderful.
thank you. Oh my goodness. Yes, my current self stands in solidarity with my past self that said that. Absolutely. Um, hey guys, I got a new book coming out. It's called Hoshan, right? It's called Hoshan. And if you are like, wait, what's she saying? This is going to be difficult. Yeah, It is a Navajo word, and it is encouraging you to like go ho shon and reach out there. It's a little scary, but it is a Navajo Nation medicine woman's exploration of the four bodies of existence for balance and self-reclamation. Um, it is North Atlantic Books, is the my publishing house. Uh, the beauty of this is that we often look outside of ourselves for counsel, which I think is extremely healthy, but we also need to look inside of ourselves to our birthright of the counsel that was given to us, and that is the four bodies of existence: your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, your spiritual body. Calling them bodies helps us to understand, articulate, wrap some feelings around, a little more texture around. It's not something that I own. It is something that I need to feed, that I need to take care of and exercise. And then it also, once you are able to listen to all of those four bodies as your internal counsel, the book helps to walk through what is that internal narrative that's been playing? Can you identify it? And I help people to do that. And then all of a sudden, now, do you still like that narrative that you are living, or do you want to adjust it to live a more powerful life on purpose? Um, this book has a life of its own, and man, I'm beside myself with it. It's absolutely self-reclamation. I tell a lot of stories. So basically, the setup is you do hear about the philosophical way that I'm expressing the four bodies of existence, and I explain that, explaining the sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system, and going into the gut system, and going into your emotional intelligence, and all of that. And then we go into, you know, a little bit more of, okay, what is Granddaughter Crow's story here? Can she show us an example of how she moved through not just the philosophy, not just the grounded scientific analysis of it, but the embodied lived experience? And so I walk with you through the book, and I absolutely love it, love it, love it. And I appreciate you letting me share it because, yeah, Hoshon in the Navajo is a word that I think it's most aptly translated into English language, meaning harmony. And so when people start going, oh, well, Hoshon means harmony, so I'm just going to intertranslate. No, you can't. Those are not interchangeably. They are like if you were to say Zen means peace. Pochon means harmony. It's something that is embodied. Shout out to my dad, Reverend Jackson Yazzie, born 1932, passed the physical body in 2023. Dedicated this book to you, Dad, and decided to publish it after you passed so you wouldn't have to defend what your little girl is saying. Okay, so because I got a little bit, I mean, he went into he was taken out of the Hogan and put into boarding schools, and he has had to come to terms with that in his own lifetime. His little girl, Joy Joy, me, is a little bit more feisty about that. I do not feel like being adaptable. I do not feel like that program is good, and so I'm kind of making a stance. So, yeah.
Yeah, Hoshan definitely can go into the Bad Indians book club.
Yes.
It's definitely a Bad Indians book. So let me say one more time, and y'all get ready because this May, and hopefully many Mays in the future, and 5 Mays in the past, you are going to hear this again and again. Make your reparation of $10 or more to any local Indigenous-led support organization or to the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal or payyourrent.ca or take a screenshot of your receipt and email it to witchreparations@gmail.com. For every $10, you'll get one entry in our draw for this year, 6th year, over $6,000 worth of prizes. Amazing stuff. And also, everyone who makes any kind of donation is going to get discount codes for House Witch in Salem, Madam Phoenix in Toronto, and to order your very own copy of Hosha by Granddaughter Crow from North Atlantic Books. And while you're shopping on the North Atlantic Books website, you might as well pick up Red Tarot, right? Thank you all so much, Lynx, Chris, GDC, Patty. I learned when I was doing some research for my kinship episode on rats that there was a man who studied rats by drowning them and found that the rats who had been rescued once and had that memory were able to continue swimming for 60 additional hours. So let me remind you that hope is not just a fantasy, it is a survival mechanism. And whether your hope is an invention or something that you found in the material world, it can help us keep swimming. Let's all keep swimming together in this horde of others. Let's create a wave of care. Let's make a reparation for the past and fund a fucking revolution for the future. Blessed fucking be. Thank you, Lynx. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, GDC. I love you all so much. And I have hope. I have more hope than I had this morning.
Thank you all. Love you
Yes,
so much.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me back. And I just love these conversations.
I love community. And guys, this is what community looks like. Go out, find your own community. It's right here. It's right here.
I love you guys.
You must be a witch.